terrible story now where the 4-year-old pupil who died after falling into a pit latrine at school has been laid to rest today. Langalam Viki's body was found in a toilet in the Eastern Cape. The incident bringing very much the issue of pit toilets at public schools back into the spotlight. Covering that from the very beginning, our reporter Ronald Masinda has been following that, joining us now as well. Hello to you, Ronald. So once again, it's a tragic ending for a family that should never ever have had to go through what they are now. And despite, I'm sure, the answers and some clarity, it's not going to be good enough for the family, is it?
Not at all, and especially, Gareth, with the preliminary report into the investigation as to the cause of death, suggesting that Langalam Viki may have suffered some head injuries before her body was dumped inside that pit toilet in Takadu. But from the beginning, when we covered the story, we spoke to the family, and they were under no illusion that there could be foul play involved. Today, we managed to actually speak to the mother of Langalam Viki, and she told us that when she got the call that the child was missing, that was just after school, she alerted the people who were looking for the child to perhaps also try and look in the toilets. Now, we understand that the toilets at that particular school were built since 2016. And some have raised concerns, Gareth, as to just the massive size of the toilet pot itself, where the grandfather was spoke to and was part of the search for Langalam, told us that even an elderly person could also fall into that pit toilet. That's how deep it was. But the family still with many unanswered questions. We also spoke to Petros Majola. He's an activist and someone who's been very vocal about issues such as pit toilets in the Eastern Cape. He sort of mentioned, Gareth, that they also suspected foul play because the child, Langalam, was inside a toilet where she wasn't supposed to, because those toilets were actually for staff members, and that when her body was found, she had her clothing intact, and not to suggest or any suggestion to suggest that she was there to relieve herself. But Petros Majola had this to say further.
The fact that she was found fully dressed, it leaves us with a lot of gray areas. We are asking, how did she get into the pit latrine if she was fully dressed? Was she there to relieve herself, or how did she get there? I presume so, that she was there to relieve, or maybe something fell from the end and she was trying to fetch it and then she fell down, or someone has hurt the child and dumped her. But the post-mortem report is the one that is going to assist us going forward. I checked with the family as I was here on Thursday this week. They received the post-mortem, but it was not a full report. The police promised to come back to say this is how it is translated or interpreted. So maybe today we will be getting those answers. But at the same time, we are still saying to the department, this thing of these toilet pits, I think it is time for them to be declared as a disaster, so that government can use the same approach they used during the COVID-19, where they declared it and managed it under the Disaster Management Act and had enough budget to look at it.
So, Ronald, clearly the family furious about what's happened here, but as you mentioned, this is not a new issue, certainly not in this area, certainly not around the country. And they're saying that authorities need to speed up getting rid of pit toilets. So what did the MEC have to say to you?
So MEC Fundile Gadi made mention of some of the problems faced by government, saying that, one of the issues is finances, and that so far they have they had initially 1,500 schools that had pit toilets in the province. That was back in 2019. They went on a drive to try and eradicate pit toilets. They've since now come up with a figure of around 900. And among the issues that has prevented not only a provincial but national government, they've often said that it's the slow pace was due to the COVID-19 pandemic. There have been other issues here in the Eastern Cape, like flooding, and this has resulted in the slow pace. But Fundile Gadi also saying that, they take responsibility for what happened, and that is why he attended the funeral. He was shell-shocked to look at the conditions of that particular, school's toilet, and that system is certainly going to create a health hazard for the many kids that attend that school in that group. But he also made mention that, in as much as they are under pressure of eradicating pit toilets, they are hoping that they can get the necessary budget to address this problem. He also mentioned that the Langalam Viki story is quite similar to the one that took place in 2019, where a child allegedly also was killed and had the body dumped inside a pit toilet. Let's take a listen further to what Funila Gadi had to say.
In terms of the infrastructure development plan of the sector, yes, we have committed ourselves in terms of eradication of the mud structure, in terms of the pit latrine toilets. But if you look in terms of the fiscus of the country, it doesn't look like that. For example, we were given 453 schools that must be dealt with within the current fiscus, and we dealt with them. But I can assure you, out of the 1,500 schools that were identified in 2019 as need for the eradication of pit latrines, we have dealt with plus minus 900 now. But unfortunately, this incident happened within the journey of dealing with that.
eNCA's Ronald Masinda on that terrible story for us. Another death as a result of a pit latrine here in South Africa. Now,